When I mean Israel, I'm talking about the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. The Lord's 54th annual Passover is going down again this year, sundown, April 1st at 500 South Salisbury Street in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Downtown Conventional Center. It's got enough room for all of us. The Lord's 54th annual Passover. Last year, brothers and sisters showed up from all over the world, rocking ancient garments and glorious apparel in order to serve the Most High in Christ. Now, it's that time again. Commander General Yohana's putting out the decree for all brothers and sisters to show up sundown, April 1st in Raleigh, North Carolina. Join us at the Sheridan in Raleigh, the hotel right downtown. It's at 421 South Salisbury. The Passover is right up the block at the convention center, literally within walking distance. Make sure you pull up. Make sure that you do your due diligence because rooms are going fast and they are limited this weekend. You understand? We have months in advance of preparation. Do not wait till the last minute to get your room. The Lord's 54th annual Passover, Saturday, April 1st in Raleigh, North Carolina. Join us there.
It's about time, sending curses to them enemies.
ISUPK presents the 54th annual Feast of Unleavened Bread. Last year we did it big. This year is going to be way big. More brotherhood, more sisterhood, more UPK. On Sunday, April 2nd, 2023, we're going to be at 421 South Salisbury Street in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Sheraton Raleigh Hotel Ballroom. We're calling all blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to come join us.
Your third eye peephole, line for line, this shit too easy. It's like a free throw. Mastered the game too early. This bitch a cheat code.
For more information, call 919-697-8257. Call 919-697-8257.
ISUPK presents Ask Ye the Prophets weekly podcast.
Every race in the movie.
We are not the trusted. We are not the trusted. And we are not the trusted.
Send in your questions to askyetheprophets@gmail.com or Ask Ye the Prophets on Facebook. And your questions will be answered live every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shalom.
He's speaking of his Lord. What's that whole Ten Commandments? The white man made himself be the Egyptians and the Israelites. And the Persians. Every race in the movie.
Hey, shalom, brothers and sisters, shalom. Once again, welcome to another episode of Ask Ye the Prophets. Yahweh Shem Yahshua Brakathum, Yahweh Shema Alathun by Shem Yahushua. So let's get it in, man. Let's get it in. I wanted to go into something today, man, that, didn't surprise me, but a lot of people ain't aware of. You understand? I know a lot of you familiar with the campaign to get rid of what they're calling critical race theory. You know what I'm saying? They trying to get certain books out of schools. They're trying to have certain things not be taught, in our schools, not be taught to our children and their children. Surprisingly, they don't want this information out. Well, this ain't nothing new. This has been going on for a long time. You know what I'm saying? That cover up of America's history, that hiding of America's history. You understand? That's nothing new. That's nothing new. That's been going on. It's been going on since the 1900s, man. Even before that. So we're gonna go back a little bit to the time of the Civil War. A lot of you familiar with the Civil War with the North America, went to war with South America because South America had more slaves, had most of the slaves, and so they added those number of slaves to their government power, their voting rights and different things. If you had more numbers, you had more power. Of course, you get more elections and all that. So they kind of used the slaves for that reason. So the North had a problem with it, and they eventually went to war. You understand? That started in 1861. That's when the Civil War started. It finally ended. It finally ended when Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant. You understand? That was in 1865. You understand? And so, and for a lot of you that are not familiar with CRT in these modern times, these last days, CRT once again is critical race theory, and that's just they define it as a set of ideas holding that racial bias, and it is inherent in many parts of Western society, aka America, especially in its legal and social institutions, on the basis of their having been primarily designed for and implemented by white people. And that's right, all the way starting with that old Constitution they always bragging about. The Constitution was primarily designed for and implemented by white people. That's what the Constitution was implemented for. That's what it was made for them. It really didn't have black people in mind when they made the Constitution, or brown people. You understand? So I'm going to get this first scripture, John 8:44, just to start off. Give y'all a second to get it. Let me see who's on the board. All right, no sweat. Shalom, shout out to Amana DeBaf, always in the house, of course. You know what I'm saying? Getting it in. Shalom to her. Shalom to Officer Hawar. I see you, soldier. You understand? Who else we got? Larry Milton. Shalom to you. Hawad. Shalom, brother. And who does Bayana? Shalom. Shalom. So, getting back to the scripture, John 8:44 reads, it says, ye are of your father the devil. And this is Christ. Christ is speaking this. Ye are of your father the devil. Now, when he says devil, he's not talking about Satan. He's talking about what a devil really is. A devil is a liar, a deceiver, a trickster. You know what I'm saying? A snake. You understand? That's what the devil is. You understand? The devil is our oppressor of today. He's the one lying across the earth about everything, like I just brought out. You want to cover up, critical race theory in America's history, even back then, which we're about to get into. You understand? Tried to hide the truths of their racism with the Civil War and all that there. You understand? So, but now the key is Jesus Christ, our black king, he talking to black people. He's talking to Israelites when he said this. Why is he telling them their father the devil? He was basically calling them a sellout. He was basically letting them know that you a bunch of sellouts, man. And it's damn near like you the children of our oppressors. Back then, the Romans were our oppressors. The Caucasian man still, but the Roman tribe of the Edomite race. You understand? They were in charge back then. And Christ was checking our black leaders, our priests, Sadducees, Pharisees, elders, letting them know that y'all are of your father, the devil. Y'all act like our oppressor is your father, like you children of the Romans, man. That's what you act like with the way you treat Israelites. You got the law of the Most High, you got his culture, you got his records, yet you hold traditions of these people here, man, and traditions of your own, and treat your people like they're not your people, man. Much like black leaders do today. Sellouts, in other words. Sellouts. Reading on. He said, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, going all the way back to Cain. Cain, because our oppressor in 2023, he has the same spirit that Cain had. Our oppressor back at the time of Christ had the spirit that Cain had. And Christ was telling black leaders that you are acting like you part of those people instead of the children of the Most High. You acting like a white man, like house niggas, in other words. You acting like a bunch of house niggas the way you deal with Israel, the way you treating people, man. You understand? He said he was a murderer from the beginning because, once again, Cain was the first murderer. Instead of doing right by the Lord, which he had a chance to do, he decided to go evil and just get rid of the one who was doing good. Get rid of Abel and murder him. You understand? And then the Lord punished them, kicked them out of the garden, which was the land of Israel, kicked them out, and punished them with a mark, the mark of the murderer, man. The mark of the murderer. Set a mark on him, so when everybody see him, they'll know, don't touch him. God punished him. He's the murderer. You understand? And that mark was the mark of leprosy. No melanin in his skin. No melanin in his skin. That skin, that look you see when you see our oppressor in 2023, when you see Caucasians, aka white people, that's the mark that was put on Cain. You understand? And then a baby was born into the earth named Esau, who took on that same spirit of Cain. And Esau is the father of all your Caucasian and white families and tribes. Again, like I mentioned last week, American, Russian, French, German, Spaniard, Jewish, Australian, whatever sector, white family they all descend from a baby that was born in the earth named Esau, who took on the spirit of Cain. That's why Esau did the same thing. He had the birthright. He was the firstborn of Isaac. You understand? He had the birthright over our forefather Jacob, aka Israel. You understand? But sold that birthright to Israel. Didn't respect the birthright that he had to receive the blessings from God, from Abraham and Isaac. You understand? He didn't honor it enough. He gave it away for food because he was hungry, for lust. He didn't care. And the Lord made him pay for it. He gave the birthright to Israel. Barakatah Yahweh Shah. That's why we got it now. And Esau wasn't even looked at like a child of God anymore. He wasn't even looked at like a child of Isaac any longer. So these Caucasian families ruling today, ruling during the time of Christ, the Lord never loved them. You know what I'm saying? The Lord, he said, Esau have I loved. I mean, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. You understand? That's why, because Esau did not love the Lord. Esau didn't respect and honor the Lord. He had the spirit that Cain had. Instead of honoring the Lord like the Lord told Cain, if you do well, you'll be accepted. But if not, sin lieth at the door. And Cain decided to go with the sin. He didn't honor the Most High enough. You understand? So reading again, he was a murderer from the beginning, like Cain, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. Again, this is Jesus Christ speaking. You think Jesus Christ don't know? And the words that Jesus Christ taught and said, they came from the Most High. They was in the spirit of the Most High. You understand? And Jesus Christ said, this devil who was a murderer from the beginning, he said he abides not in the truth because there is no truth in him. So once again, it ain't no surprise that they don't want Black history and real American history taught in the schools. And they don't want their dirt to come out. They don't want their own children learning about all that dirt. And they like to keep us sleeping dumb and ignorant too, so we don't know about our history in a lot of cases. You understand? Don't you know it's a whole lot of white people don't know about Tulsa, Oklahoma to this day? And recently, when Tulsa, Oklahoma was in the news, it was white people finding out for the first time. Caucasian Americans was finding out for the first time. They don't even know America's true, dirty, horrible history, man. They don't even know that. You understand? And so America don't want them things to come out. So they fight now, fighting to keep a lot of books out of the schools, which they had done in the early 1900s also. They don't want none of that coming out about their dirt. Reading on what Christ said about these deceivers. You understand? He said there's no truth in them, and he knows. So the Most High, he ain't putting no truth in these people, man. These people, when, you know, just get used to the lies. On national TV, Donald Trump lied before everybody. Wow, everybody knew he was lying. Now the Republican Party, a lot of the Democrats too. So some of the Democrats, politicians get on TV and lie. Like that devil, I forget his name. Y'all remind me of his name. That politician who just got caught in a bunch of lies and all that. Said his mother was in the 9/11 building. You understand? They found out she was all the way in Brazil. You understand? They said he said he was Jewish. You understand? They found out he ain't damn Jewish. You understand? And he defended her. They said you need to step down out of office, man. You done told so, and there's a bunch of lies. I can't even remember all the lies, but he did a lot lying like Donald Trump. He did a lot of lying. You understand? And still got elected. You understand? Well, they found out after he got elected about all the lies, but a lot of them politicians knew he was lying back then. They found it out. You understand? But that's just common now for white people, and everybody knows about it. Santos, the water. Who that? Ayashala, the water. George Santos. He lied about everything that he ran on. They finding out it was all lies. He robbed people out of money. Listen, one Edomite, he had started a fund, a nonprofit to save military dogs. The dogs that help the military people when they come back to be their companions and all that. He started a fund, and then they got the guy who put up a lot of money, because he loved his dog and he wanted to help his dog who was sick. You understand? He said George Santos disappeared. He wouldn't answer his calls anymore, and his dog ended up dying. He said he was actually thinking about suicide because his dog died and he loved that dog. And Santos stole his goddamn money and ain't do nothing for these military dogs and animals that help people. He said, I really thought about suicide. And then when it came out, when he bought it out, Santos said, I don't even know who the hell he is. He told Santos on national TV, he said, well, I'll tell you, you don't know who I am? Well, go to hell. He said, go to hell. And he defrauded a lot of people, man. And the investigation's still on. You understand? Once again, it takes a miracle from God to arrest a white person, especially a politician. You understand? I don't know what white people got to do to get arrested. They done murdered, they did this and did that. You understand? They just had the little white boy today who murdered all them brothers and sisters in the Buffalo massacre. You understand? He's sitting in court, all surrounded by white police, all in the courtroom. I ain't see one black police officer. You understand? And one of the victims family member tried to get at him in the courtroom, and they gripped him up and grabbed the white boy, hauled him up, and ushered him out of the room. You understand? Like he's fully protected by all them Americans. You understand? Because they got no loss with them what he did. They probably treating him good. He probably living good up in the prison. You understand? Well, they say he even bought puppies from an Amish farmer with a bad check. Look at that. Writing bad checks like this. This the MO for these Americans, man. This is what they do. They lie and steal and cheat, and jail is like something foreign to them. When they go to jail, they are very surprised. They are very surprised. And then when they go to jail, down the line, they always find a way to make some appeal to get off early. Always. Meanwhile, black people in jail being framed by police, being lied on by police, and serving the whole time. Serving the whole time. We come down for parole, and the parole board, we don't believe them. Send them back. Because there's big money in the institutionalization, or AKA slavery, of black and brown people. That's where the money at. Ain't really no money in white people going to prison for America. So reading on what it say. Because there's no truth in them, Christ said, about these devils, these deceivers. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. For he is a liar and the father of it. And Christ said this. Come on now. You Christians is crazy if you think there ain't somebody on this earth that is a natural born liar and the daddy of lying, man. Christ said it. Christ said it. What does that mean? Every time he lied, he put himself in the lie to be the good guy. He always makes himself the hero. He always makes himself the winner. He always makes himself the wise one, the one with knowledge, the one that's the answer to save the world all the time. He's the one, the greatest. You understand? He's God. He's the president. He's everything. He's everything when he's telling his lies, man. Isaiah 29:16. Isaiah 29:16 reads, surely your turning of things upside down, meaning their lies, because the things is right, when they speak it, them things is wrong. They upside down, it's wrong. And the things is wrong in here, they bring that up to be the truth. That's why the scriptures say, no marvel, for Satan himself has transformed into an angel of light. Because Satan uses these people, man, these liars, these deceivers. He uses them. They are the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon, Satan, our oppressor. That's what he is. And he uses them and gives them the spirit to accomplish his will, man, to accomplish his will. And they didn't turn everything upside down. They done made everything good and wonderful seem like it's horrible and bad. Any picture you see of black and brown people, we in the ghetto, we horrible, we the gangbangers, we the this and that. Well, we the kings of the earth. We the chosen people of God himself, man. We the righteous priests of the earth that keeps this world in order. At least we were at one time, and we're supposed to be now. But once again, everything is upside down now. It says, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. And this potter's clay metaphor is speaking about God, the creator, the most high. He's the potter. He's the potter, and everything else is clay. The trees he created, the sun, the moon, he created it all. That's his clay. The people, the Israelites, we're his clay. You understand? Our oppressor, God created him. That's his clay. You understand? That's why in the book of Romans, he said, who are you to reply against God? Don't I got the power to make one, I'm paraphrasing, one blot of clay into something good and the other into something bad? He's the potter. It's his clay. He can make something horrible with one piece of clay and make something wonderful and beautiful with another piece. And neither one of them can be mad. And nobody can be mad at him. Well, why you make that clay ugly and something horrible? Because I own the clay. It's mine. I'm the creator. That's the most high. But these people, his turning of things, this devil, this deceiver, our oppressor, he done turned everything upside down and made it through his media, through his entertainment, through all his lies and witchcraft. He done made it be esteemed as the potter's clay. Like all the things that's bad, he made it like it's good and convinced the people that it was good. We look at him like he's God. Everything. That's what most of Christianity, most of Islam. Look at this man like he's the boss, and whatever he say goes. You understand? Christmas got nothing to do with Jesus Christ, but the world celebrates Christmas, man. Muslims celebrate Christmas, believe it or not. Muslims, even Jewish people celebrate Christmas. They try to twist it up, and instead of a Christmas tree, I forget what they call that damn bush, the Hanukkah bush. They call it. You understand? And then got Santa Claus wearing a blue suit. They tweak it here and there. That's what pagans and heathens always have done. Took other people's holidays and pagan celebrations and just tweaked it and made it more modern and added some things, took some things away. That's what they always do. The world is celebrating Christmas, man, when everybody knows by now Christmas got nothing to do with Jesus Christ. It's just said that it's his birthday. And people are so ignorant and lazy in the brain that they don't even give a damn to even check it out. They hear it, and here Christmas ain't got nothing to do with Christ. That's why they call it Xmas, and that's why, it's Merry Xmas and this and that. And they don't care. Well, I've been doing it all this time. I'm going to keep doing it. Easter got nothing to do with rabbits, eggs, nothing. And even most of your Bibles that say Easter, you go to the back of that Bible and look up Easter, the ones that got that context in the back. Most Bibles will tell you the truth. They said Easter was originally rendered Passover. Passover is what it was, that time that it says Easter in the Bible, which Christians put in the Bible. It's about 5 or 6 words that Christians put in the Bible, like ghosts. Ghost wasn't the original word. The word is rakah, spirit, in the Bible, but they put ghost in there. You understand? And so now, reading on, their lies and different things, all the things that they flipped and turned upside down, is looked at like God okayed it, esteemed as the potter's clay. That's what that means. We look at his lies and his changing and his cover-ups and his culture and the things he push out there to be truth, but they're not. Most of the world still looks at them like they're okayed by God. Reading on, Isaiah 29:16. For shall the work say of him that made it? So it's going into, questioning God or questioning the potter. So now, and once again, these lies and these cover-ups and hiding the truth and all this, This has always been a tactic of America, man. It's a tactic that's been used since slavery. Since slavery. Once again, during slavery, y'all remember you read the history, the documents, the slave testimonies, how they pushed false Christianity on the slaves. A white Jesus, a white God. That's where we get modern day Christianity from the slave master, teaching us that everything great in the Bible itself was white, was them. White Jesus, white God, and we're your slave masters, so you better respect us like God. And that was seared into our minds, man. Meanwhile, a lot of us in slavery still fought to keep our culture. We still fought to teach our old history and roots we knew coming over on them ships there. A lot of it got passed down, man. A lot of it got passed down. That's why even after slavery and before the 1900s, there was still talk of how the black people and Hispanics are the tribes of Israel. But of course, America did a great cover up, man, and turned everything upside down and got all that, out of the minds of people, man. Most of the people beat the slaves as they was caught reading the Bible on their own. Beat the slaves and murdered and lynched us if they was caught teaching anything about the old ways of where we came from. You understand? They was beat and lynched. You understand? And so we shut our mouth. We shut our mouth for the most part. You understand? But these tactics have been used, man, these lies and these cover-ups, so that the world doesn't know the truth, man. The world doesn't know the truth. That's why 2023 is a lot of people still don't know who the Hebrew Israelites are. And some of the entertainers, they finding out, and your sports figures, they finding out. And when they say something about it on TV, Jewish people rise up. You're anti-Semitic. Cut his money off. Fire him. Suspend him. And then now they push a whole silence campaign. Everybody got to shut up now. And they halfway understand it. They not the ISUPK. They not us. But they find out a piece and they put it out there. I found this little piece of truth out, I believe. You know what I'm saying? I need more. And they get shut down immediately. So they can't even find the more. They can, but they better do it in secret. They ain't got to do it in secret, but a lot of them love that money that they're getting in their careers, so they shut their mouth. They shut their mouth and find another way to find the Lord. But sometimes you can't find another way, man. You can't find another way. You understand? And them lies and them cover-ups, all that does, it preserves and it propels and pushes white supremacy in the Americas, man, in the United States. You understand? And the goal is, right, the basic goal for this doctrine of lies and cover-ups and all that is control. It's control. It's to control the narrative and stop the children's access to information. Our children and their children especially, they don't want their children learning the dark history because their children ain't as loopy. Their children is a little more loopy than the forefather. The forefather was straight killers and gangsters, man. And now they know their children are a bunch of skateboarders and YouTubers and gamers. You understand? They may just say, wait a minute, we did all this to get America? That ain't right. And they'll end up fighting against their own parents. Because that's what our oppressors famous for doing also. They famous for turning against their own family, man. They try to push it like black on black crime, like we horrible people because we fight each other or shoot each other, do this. Nobody fights each other more than Caucasians, more than white people. You understand? Nobody. All races fight each other, but the most murderous one is this Caucasian. You understand? And those are just facts. Those are just facts. The FBI stated that the most dangerous terrorists in America is domestic terrorism from their own people, man, from Caucasians. From Caucasians. You understand? So they want to keep this information from the kids so that they don't turn against their own people, man. They don't want their children learning about this. And they get on the news and say, so you mean to tell me you want this taught in the school so white kids can hate their history, so they can hate their country? That's what they're afraid of. That's what they're afraid of. And listen, maybe they won't hate their country. Maybe they won't hate their people, but they'll see that their people done some horrible things and made some horrible mistakes. And maybe we should right those wrongs. That's what their daddies don't want. That's what the leaders don't want. They don't even want to right the wrongs. They want us to forget about slavery. Remember, pull your bootstraps up and forget about it. That was in the past. Yet they would never tell a Jewish man, listen, forget about that Holocaust. Pull your bootstraps up and forget about it. They'll never tell Jewish people that. But they push that sentiment of forgetting about our history on black and brown people. You understand? But we won't forget. Just like the Lord said, he'll never forget. We will not forget ever, ever. You understand? So now getting into it. On September 10th, right? September 10th, 1894, a group, right, called the United Daughters of the Confederacy. Let me put them up here. A group called the United Daughters of the Confederacy. Y'all see them, right? These are some of them. This is when they started in 1894. The UDC, United Daughters of the Confederacy, was formed, right? Because people back then started to realize, look, the Civil War was 30 years ago. You understand? And the people that fought, the men that fought and really pushed the Civil War and stood for the, against the Union, against the North in the Civil War, the people that participated in them, they was old as hell now. And they were going to be dying off soon. And when they die off, they would die off without their message being spread. You understand? And that doctrine or that ideology, it would die with them. It would die with them. So now, the UDC was formed. The United Daughters of the Confederacy, they were formed to try to help with this, to help keeping this doctrine alive, help keep the message of the South and the Confederacy, to keep that fresh and on everybody's mind. So in the beginning, the organization's purpose was to raise money, get a ton of money, which they did, and put up as many Confederate statues and monuments as possible. Now you know why all those Confederate monuments and statues was everywhere. The black and brown people mad at now, trying to get torn down, trying to take a lot of them down. They're trying to take them old Confederate names off of buildings and all that. Those things exist because this group, the UDC, United Daughters of the Confederacy, they raised a lot of money to get these statues put up and get the names of Robert E. Lee pictures in the damn White House to this day. You understand? Donald Trump was a product of these Confederates. And I know, talking to the generals, we always used to say, man, the South is rising up again. They're going to rise up again, man. And they've been rising up. You understand? And they're in the police force. They own your judge seats. They're your lawyers, your prosecutors, your DAs. You understand? They're all up in the government. Come on now. The South then got positions of power now. And it's those same Confederates who were traitors back then, who fought against America, which was treason. They now in the government now. Now they making the laws and making the rules. You understand? So again, they wanted to raise up monuments and statues everywhere. And this is why, of course, this is why there were so many, all those statues all around in the United States. Now, eventually they came to realize that the statues weren't enough, you know what I'm saying, it wasn't enough to keep that doctrine going, to keep their ideology going, right? So they came up with what's called the lost cause. They came up with the lost cause. And if you check that out, let me show you something else. They came up with the lost cause. Check this out for a second. Look at these women, man, these white women. And like Muhammad brought out, we look at white men like they so horrible and forget that these white women, they was just as horrible toward black people during slavery and after slavery, man. That's where all these Karens come from. This is the UDC also. You see the Confederate flags, right? In the background, right? They played a big part in our oppression, man. Our oppressors, women. They played a hell of a big part in our oppression and terrorism, man. They played a huge part. So now, let me show you this now. Let me get it. Let me get this for you. Bear with me one. Here we go. So going into what this lost cause is, right? The lost cause is an ideology or another doctrine, right? That says that the Confederates were heroes. The lost causes doctrine pushed like the Confederate soldiers that fought against the North. They were heroes, man. They ought to be worshiped. They were like gods. This is what they push. You understand? That the Confederates were heroes and that slavery wasn't bad at all. Slavery wasn't as bad as the North is making it out. Slavery ain't as bad as what they saying on TV. Slavery was a good thing. Slavery helped civilize the slaves, man. They didn't know how to dress. The slaves were walking around naked. We clothed them and gave them. It was like having a job, man. It wasn't a bad thing. They said the slaves were happy with slavery. We appreciated slavery, our grandmothers and grandfathers. Thank you, Mazda, for bringing us over here on ships and whooping our backs and lynching us and stealing our babies and raping us. There was so much rape going on in slavery, man. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And that's a whole nother thing. And then with the rape, you understand, of the slaves, the babies that were being born, they said they had to make a law. It was babies being born during slavery. They had to make a law that said any baby that come out of a black womb is black, no matter what it looked like. And so these slaves, they were considered mulatto or different things. They were still enslavable. Actually. You understand? Or sent off somewhere or whatever they decided to do to them. You know what I'm saying? So now, the lost cause, once again, it says slaves were happy with slavery and that the Civil War had nothing to do with the South having slaves. And slaves weren't even involved in any decision in the Civil War. It had nothing to do with the Civil War. You understand? That's what they push. That's what they push and teach. You understand? And now, even now, they recently started calling the slave trade the slave migration. The slave migration. To migrate means to move from one place to another. You understand? Calling it the slave migration implies that we decided to come over here and work for these people and pick cotton. We decided to be under their foot and have them put yokes of iron on us and lynch us. It was our choice to come over here and be slaves. That's what that implies. And that's now. In these last, this is 2023, 2021, 2022, 2020. They was pushing that slave migration, trying to change the narrative, trying to change history. You understand? So we did not choose to come here. We was forced to come here. The African tribes, the Arab tribes, the children of Ishmael, and the Edomite tribes, the British, the French, you understand, Jewish people, the Spaniards, you understand, they played a big part in forcing us on slave ships to come over here to North, Central, and South America, man, and the Caribbean islands. All of them had a hand against us, man. We didn't choose it. We didn't move here. We didn't get a ticket and move here by choice. It wasn't no damn migration. You understand? This was terrorism and murder and enforced slavery. You understand? But once again, the lost cause back then and even now, those lies about changing what slavery is and what it's called, you understand? This is what's going on. This is what's going on. This is the propaganda. This is the lie. Remember, he abides in the lie. He don't abide in the truth because there's no truth in him, man. He's a liar from the beginning. Now, and let me show you this here now. In 1919, right, there was a woman named Mildred Rutherford. Let me pull her ugly behind up. Excuse my French. I'm trying to be professional. Excuse me. Let me pull Mildred up for you. Mildred Rutherford. Where's she at? There she go. Mildred Rutherford, right? Let me try to get a little bigger. You see the mug on her, right? Ugh. Sheesh. Mildred Rutherford. This is her name. This is her. Mildred Lewis, Miss Millie. They called her Rutherford. You understand? She stepped up strong to really rally and push the idea of the lost cause, of these lies about how happy slaves were, how heroic the traitors of the men of the Confederates army was, those soldiers, how wonderful they were. She stepped up to push this. She was also a member of the UDC, United Daughters of the Confederate, right? And she was a school teacher, teaching the children. And she was a prominent white supremacist. Man. And teaching her children, teaching white children these things, man. And any other child that she can get her hands on. This is what she would teach. And imagine all the white teachers we grew up with as a young age, man. Just think about all of the white female teachers we had back then. And I remember incidents and different things where they say, man, a lot of them white teachers, they don't like little, especially boys, little black boys that are a little different, might be a little unruly. They come down on them, man. They give up on them and come down on little black boys, man. Harder than the little black girls. They couldn't stand us. That was for a reason, man. That's for a reason. That spirit, that Miss Millie spirit, that was in them. A lot of them. You understand? A lot of them. So she created a pamphlet, right? She created a pamphlet called, see how ugly she is, right? Excuse me. I don't mean to be like that, but good Lord. Good Lord. These are the people that rule over us, man. She created a pamphlet called, what was it called? Slovakia. A measuring rod. A measuring rod. Let me pull that up for you. She created this pamphlet. Now it's a book. You can get them in books. You understand? Now let me get the other one first. Called A Measuring Rod. First, check this one out. A measuring rod, right? Can y'all see that? Let me make it a little bigger. A measuring rod to test textbooks and reference books in schools, colleges, and libraries, man. That's what this pamphlet was called. And this book, this here, where's this at? This is eBay. You can get this on eBay right now. A measuring rod. You understand? Also, you could also get it where? Let me get this other one. This other one you can get from, you see it, right? Walmart. You can order this right on Walmart, man. A measuring rod. And it's false doctrine about the South. You understand? It's false doctrine about the South. So this ain't, this is something they still trying to push. You understand? This is what Donald Trump stood for and all his cronies, right? This is what that whole march in Charlotte was about. You Jews will not replace us. You will not replace us. Don't tread on me. Don't tread on me, man. That's the Southern symbol, man. Y'all ain't going to get rid of them. Y'all ain't going to crush their doctrine. And they've been pushing and holding on to it since way back then, man. Since way back then, during the early 1900s, late 1800s. Now, the goal of this pamphlet was to have all schools on the same page, teaching the same message all across all of the schools in the South. They wanted everybody on the same page. On the same page, right? And in this pamphlet, it stated that some books needed to be totally removed from the school. Sound familiar? They're doing that right now today. Right now today. It's a lot of books needed to be removed from schools totally, while other books needed to be heavily redacted, meaning some pages blocked out. They can't read this. We don't want our children reading this in America. Heavily redacted or censored, so that the teachings of these books would correspond with the ideology or doctrine and teachings of the Confederate South. That's what they wanted back then. That's what they're pushing right now. You understand? Now, They said if a book didn't state that the Civil War was fought over states' rights, they got rid of that book. That book had to say the Civil War was fought over rights, and that was it. Ain't had nothing to do with slaves. If the book don't say that, it's banned from the schools. It's banned from the schools. If a book said that the Civil War was fought because of slaves or because they had slaves or the number of slaves, it was banned. It was taken out. It was taken out. If a book referred to the Confederate soldiers as traitors or rebels, the book gone, out of here, out of here, out of here. You understand? Listen, they out of here. They was out of here. Let me see. If a book stated that the South, okay, I said that South were fighting for slaves, it was taken out of there. If they wanted to keep their slaves, if a book stated that the South was fighting so that they can keep slaves and keep slavery going as strong as it always was, it was taken out of here. It was taken out of here. And these guidelines and these tactics, they was upheld, man, from the early 1900s all the way up to 1969. 1969, they pushed this strong. You understand? And they estimated that during that time, about 70 million children learned this doctrine and propaganda of the South, of the Southern Confederates, man. And now you know when our oppressor estimates it's about double or triple that. You understand? Double or triple that. Now, of course, we all know that it went way past 1969 because they're still pushing a lot of it now. They still pushing a lot of it now. You understand? That's the reality. It didn't end in 1969. Hell, you talk to a lot of black and brown brothers and sisters that was raised in the South, man. They'll tell you they was educated with a lot of that doctrine, how the slaves were happy and good. Hell, I done heard it up north. I done lived up north all my life. I done heard it up here since I've been in the truth. You understand? In the last few years, I done heard them once again. The slave migration, slavery wasn't that bad. The slaves were actually happy. They chose to be slaves and all that, man. We didn't heard all that, even up here up north. You understand? So that doctrine is still in America strong. That racist doctrine, that white nationalist doctrine is still in America living strong. You understand? It said, what? Okay, this, and then once again, especially during Donald Trump. You understand? Now, I know, and once again, I know everybody's heard of critical race theory. We all heard of that. All heard of that. That's pushing the same spirit, the same doctrine, man. The same doctrine, because they don't want these things in the school. They don't want little white children, little white boys and girls to find out, you know, the true ugliness of America. That's why in the Psalms, man, in the Psalms, it tell you, you know, we're going to wake up in our beds and praise the Most High. The saints are going to. And we're going to have a two-edged sword in our hand, man, to execute the judgment written. The judgment written. Like they are going to be put on trial for the things that they have done and are doing, are still doing. Our oppressor is going on trial, black brothers and sisters in the ISUPK, and we going to be the judge, jury, and executioner in the spirit of Christ. You understand? They're going to be held accountable. They ain't getting away with nothing. Let's believe that. That's the good news of Christ. That's the good news of knowing this Bible. That's the good news or the gospel of being in the ISUPK. We know that a day of justice is coming. They ain't getting away. We know that. It's already written. They are not getting away for anything. Anything. You understand? You understand? So in the midst. Okay. Like, and listen, and I know y'all heard of Governor Ron DeSantis, right? Y'all heard of Ron DeSantis, right? He let me get with that thing that he pushed. He's pushing an agenda to keep facts and information from our children and from their children. He's pushing that. Let me pull him up. I got him somewhere. He's pushing that, man. Let me see. Add to stream. He's pushing that. There you go. DeSantis' administration rejects the proposed AP, African American Studies class in Florida high schools. And they was trying to push it for more than Florida, man. They was trying to get that pushed in other places more than Florida. You understand? He trying to do the same thing, man. Him and the rest of his cronies, man. We ran by the South. America is run by the South now, aka Nazi America. AKA Nazi America is running the government, man. That's what nobody want to bring out and say. They don't want to say the words because in America, to be politically correct, certain things you can't say. That's why that brother in Detroit, that brother on the Detroit council, that council member, Eric Hayes, I think it is. Eric Hayes. He says all the wrong things. He don't follow the scripts of being a politician. He say the truth in those meetings, and they done arrested him, threw him out, because he didn't cuss people out, call people outside their names, and you're not supposed to do that in America's politics. But he telling the truth. And that's the problem with American politics. You can't even say the truth. It's damn near you got to fight tooth and nail and wait a while to call these politicians liars, to call the president a liar when he lies, to call a governor a liar when he lies, the mayor. To call white politicians liars, even though they're lying in front of everybody, is not accepted, is not politically correct. You got to say something else, bend the truth. Well, I forget what they was calling it when Trump first started lying. They would not call Trump a liar. Alternative truths. Alternative truths, man. They couldn't even say lies until he just got so ridiculous with his lies that they said, God damn, we got to call it what it is. His lies. And they start calling him a liar. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was. You understand? The advanced placement. The AP means advanced placement for African American studies. And what that is, it's a pilot, meaning beginning or pre-college level course and examination offered to a limited number of high school students in America through the College Board's Advanced Placement Program. The course will be dedicated solely to learning about and researching the African diaspora, which we all know the Hebrew Israelite diaspora, the Black Jews diaspora. That's what that really is, because we are not African. Go see the show last week. It'll explain all that. And is designed to elevate the African American history and education. You understand? So we can learn the truth about what really happened to us. You know what I'm saying? And maybe we can figure out, but they still throwing that Africanism in there. So unless, you know, the UPK is really bringing these things out, you ain't going to really get the full picture or the full truth. And this African American studies thing supposed to be starting from 2023 to 2024 school year, this coming school year. You understand? And that beginning, that pilot course supposed to be expanded to approximately 200 schools. The course is expected to launch worldwide beginning in August 2024. We're going to see, because they fighting against it. That spirit of the lost cause, they fighting against it, man. They fighting against it. Old Miss Millie and her lies and them Confederate lies, they trying to stop all that, man. They don't want their kids, because they know if we learn about it, it's going to be white kids. White kids are always taking African-American studies in college. I remember being in there. The white kids wanted to go in there too and learn about it. They don't want their children learning how horrible America is. Once again, they didn't set it on national TV. So you mean to tell me it's okay to teach our kids how bad America is, to hate the fact that they're white, to hate their whiteness? That's where they put it. That's where they put it. I'm sure they ain't going to hate their whiteness, but they sure going to say, God damn, our forefathers were murderous. Were murderous, man, and unfair and unjust. And this new generation of Edomites, of oppressors, you understand, they got that spirit in them, but it ain't really been triggered. It ain't really been triggered. They just like to fight. So they'll fight their own people. They'll fight their fathers, given a chance. And their fathers know that. So they don't want this information and all that disseminated in all the schools for all the kids to learn about, especially their kids. You understand? And that's why it's important, man. It's super important, you know, and it's the most important thing. Let me fix that. It is the most important thing for Black and brown people. The most important thing for Black and brown people is for the ISUPK to continue to prophesy, to continue to teach classes, to continue our work, to continue everything that we do, man. These high holy days, and Commander General Yohana continue his teachings, and General Mahyman and all the generals, you captains too, blazing it up. All you officers blazing it up, man. You troopers, you come in and you learn so you can one day blaze it up. And you sisters keep doing what you do, tuning in and you learning and marrying these prophets, man, and giving them babies and supporting them and teaching your kids and raising your kids. That is important, man. The world, our world needs us. Our world needs the ISUPK, or they won't never get the full truth, man. They won't never get it. A lot of brothers and sisters have tried with good hearts and good spirits, good old Christian spirits, and they want to do the good thing and the right thing, and they try to teach us, but it's so many layers of lies and cover-ups from our people that they don't have the full truth, man. And they'll try, but once again, they'll bring your blackness to Africa. Unknowingly, ignorantly. They'll bring your blackness to African. You understand? That's why the conscious community, man. Prime example. They want the blessed for black people. They love black people. But they just don't know black people got nothing to do with Africa, man. They don't know. They don't know till Captain Tazariak had to let them all know and realize, and a lot of them still fighting on it. They look in their closet and they got all them damn dashiki gowns and dresses and don't know what to do with them. They don't really want to give them up. I was guilty of that in the world. I was red, black, and green beads and the Ankh. I used to rock that Ankh like it was the shield, boy. Everywhere I went, man. Just to show my blackness, thinking that that was black. But it's not black. It was not black. It was Hamitish. It was Hamitish. The children of Ham. And a lot of that red, black, and green don't even come from Africa. That come from other tribes in the Middle East, man. Ishmaelites and the Persians and all them different people, man. It don't even originate with Africa. And that's what black people thought. You understand? Let me get this scripture here. Isaiah 33:6 says, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. And that's what we need, man. ISUPK has never been more needed on this earth, man. Once again, since 1969. Since 1969, the Lord raised this school up, man, to find that 144,000, man, to bring these sisters and brothers into the fold, man, so that they can have the real knowledge of self we've been looking for all of our life, man. All of our life. That was big with me in the world, always looking for knowledge of self, knowledge of self. Used to go to the mosque with my cousin, man. He was through to Islam. Used to he got his X and everything. I was there, happy for him, up in the class, but it was always something that wouldn't let me really connect to them and be continuous in going to see them, because they seemed to me like gangsters speaking Arabic. I mean, they was wearing the white man suits and the hats and the fedoras. My cousin was telling me, they was inviting him on trips to take plane trips to somewhere, wouldn't tell me where they going or what they doing, but it felt like these are big time dope dealers up in here. You understand? And of course, I used to dabble in the dope scene back in the world, way back in the day. You understand? But if I'm trying to find knowledge of self and find culture in my people, I don't want to, give this to my people or be a part of this and teach about the uplifting of my people. How you going to sell dope to your people and try to uplift your people? It was backwards, man. So I never could connect with Islam. You understand? Never got up in that church. Church was always, I'm going to be professional. It was always not masculine enough for me. You understand? The church. Mama used to force us to go some Sundays, and we sitting there bored to death for 6 goddamn hours waiting for the van to take us the hell back home. Mama ain't never come, though. She just loaded us on the van with the neighbors to sit up in some damn church for 6 hours because the bus don't leave till 6 p.m. You understand? Ridiculous. We hated it. You understand? And so now, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Everybody, they need this truth, man. They need this doctrine. The black man, woman, and child is the real Jew according to God, according to the Bible. According to the Bible. Our oppressor is not loved by God according to the Bible. You understand? America is prophesied to be destroyed for its continuous evil that it has always been doing and still doing. That's in the Bible. We are not going to be slaves under these people forever. That's in the Bible. We are in the last days of him oppressing us and terrorizing us. That's in the Bible. The police hurt us and kill us and murder us, and American citizens hurt us and destroy us and terrorize us because we have not submitted and obeyed to the Most High God of Israelites as Israelites under the ISUPK. Because outside of us, you got it wrong. Outside of us, you got it wrong. If you really wanted to serve the Most High, you would be in the ISUPK. If you really wanted to serve Christ, you would be in the ISUPK. If you wasn't down with the 12 disciples during that time, you was not a disciple of Christ. Now, one time had thousands of disciples of Christ down with Christ and down with the disciples until Christ says something that confused them. Christ says something to confuse them, and they said, "What are you talking about? We don't understand that. What do you mean? The temple gonna be built in 3 days? What do you mean? Drink of his blood and eat his flesh, man? That's crazy talk. We out." And a lot of them left, man. Even Lazarus, who he brought to life, who he brought back from the dead, left the truth. Even John, who prophesied about Christ before Christ stepped on the scene fully, even he left the truth, man. So the truth, boy, you had to be disciplined, man, and stick with it and have some faith and really take the Spirit of the Lord to be put on you and really see and understand this thing in full. Because if the Lord put his Spirit on you, you can't leave the truth, man. This is it. This is everything. A lot of brothers and sisters leave the ISUPK and go say, "Well, I still don't eat pork. I still don't celebrate Christmas. I still don't do this. I'm still in the truth. I'm still in the truth." No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not in the truth. People in the truth are in the ISUPK under Commander General Yohana, who is the living servant of our King Yahushua on this earth today, man. You understand? Reading on. So he said, wisdom and knowledge is going to be the stability of our times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure, man. So knowing this truth in the ISUPK, that's going to strengthen your salvation. You're going to know that salvation is real and it's coming. And it's going to make you stable in these hellish times, man. We in hellish times. Hellish times. Black officers will kill you and murder you. We tried to tell you for years and years. Now you see. Now you see. It ain't about your skin color when you join the beast. You can't join the beast acting like you're going to make it right. You understand? You join the beast, you work for the beast. You understand? Isaiah 49:6. And he said, "It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant." So now, in order to be a servant, it's the Most High through the prophet Isaiah. Said it ain't hard to be a servant of him, to serve him, the Most High God. His laws ain't hard. His rules ain't hard. And what's one of those rules? Reading on. "It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob and restore the preserved of Israel." That's the job of a servant of God. That's the job of the Most High Christ and the Most High God of Israel and Jesus Christ. If you are a servant of God, if you're a servant of Jesus Christ, then you have to be raising up the tribes of Jacob and restoring the preserved of Israel. I don't hear you Christians talking about Israel. I don't hear you Christians talking about Jacob and raising them up. If you're not doing this, then you fooling yourself. You are not a servant of God. You don't believe in Jesus. You won't give Jesus the wheel. You won't. You won't put it in God's hand because God told your simple behind to raise up the tribes of Jacob and restore the preserved of the Israelites, man. Of the Israelites. See, in ISUPK, we really believe in God and we love him. We love God the way he said to love him. And we love Jesus Christ the way he said to love him. The rest of you fooling yourself. Outside of the ISUPK, you are fooling your fool-ass selves, man. Fooling yourself. Reading on. "I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles." To the Gentiles. What does that mean? It's not talking about heathens. It's talking about the other tribes of Israelites that fell off at some point. and were living under other cultures and following their cultures. The Lord kept the door open for them to come in eventually. This is a future prophecy. He said he's going to give the servants of God a light for the Gentiles. That was Paul's job. That was Paul's job, you understand, in the New Testament, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth. Now I'm going to go to John 21 and 15, the book of John, 21st chapter and the 15. So that's the job, man. That's our job, to raise up these Israelites and teach them the truth, man. Wisdom and knowledge going to be the stability of our times. And that's the way we fight against all their cover-ups, man. And all their lies. Slaves had a good time. We chose to be slaves. We migrated over here. Like we took a damn flight or something. You understand? Like we got a boat ticket and had suites up on them boats and eating in good restaurants on them boats or something. Like we had a good time. You understand? They piled us on them boats, forced us, murdered us, starved us. We laid in our own feces and own urine, laid stacked up on top of one another. They knew half of us was going to die. They were just hoping more of us survived than not. The ones of us that died, they just threw in the waters. So many of us died that the sharks, till this day, scientists say the sharks still come along the slave route that was taken back then, looking for more meat and flesh, because so much meat was dropped in that water back then. In genetics, the sharks and the fish and things that came and ate those bodies that was in the water back then, the genetics taught the children, this is where you come to eat. This is where you come to eat. How you think animals learn and adapt to do certain things, man? Nobody teaches them. It's in their genes. It's in their genetics. AKA, it's the Most High. It's the Most High. You understand? John 21 and 15. So when they had dined, Jesus, Yahushua, said unto Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? And he saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. So Christ asked Peter, do you love me more than everybody, more than all the disciples? And Peter said, of course, Lord, you know I do. You know I love you. He saith, that he meaning Christ, Yahushua, he saith unto him, feed my lambs. That's what Christ said. Christ said, feed my lambs. You understand? Meaning, if you love Christ, you have to be feeding the lambs of Christ, which are the Israelites. Which are the Israelites? Feeding them with what? With knowledge of who they are. Christ said in Matthew 15, 24, 15th chapter, I believe it is. I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's who he was sent to. You understand? Now, if you love Christ, you got to be feeding them lambs, man. 16th verse. He saith to him again, the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Do you love me, Peter? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, con of the one con. Thou knowest that I love thee. That's what Peter said to our king, our black king. Our king, feed my sheep. Feed my sheep. Said this twice to Peter. Peter like, well, damn, why is he saying this to me? 17th verse. Christ come back again. He saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Do you love me, Peter, for the third time? Peter was grieved because he had said unto him the third time, lovest thou me? Peter got vexed. Like, what? Why does he keep asking me this? And he saith unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things, Lord. Peter pissed off. He grieved. He offended. Did Christ ask him this 3 times? You know of all things, Lord. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus Christ saith unto him, feed my sheep. Feed my sheep. What is the point of this? If you're going to serve Christ and if you love Jesus Christ, this is for you knuckleheaded Christians. You knuckleheaded Christians and you Christian Israelites alike, because a lot of you home ain't doing a goddamn thing. Think because you don't eat pork and you speak a few Hebrew words and you don't celebrate Christmas and you know how to say shalom and kana one kana and all that, you think you in the truth. No. If you love Jesus Christ, feed the sheep. Feed the lambs, man. That's what Christ said. And that's the job we then took up in the ISUPK. And that's why nobody else is serving God or Christ. Nobody else loves God or Christ but the ISUPK. We the ones feeding the sheep of the Lord. Who are the sheep? Like he said in Isaiah, Jacob is the sheep, the tribes of Jacob, the tribes of Israel. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. They're the same person, and Israel was a man. A lot of you Christians read the Bible about Israel and you sing your Christian songs and Israel all up in the song. You think Israel is just a good thing to say in the Bible, like a good luck charm just to say. Israel was a man. He was an actual man, the son of Isaac, who was the son of Abraham. And he had 12 sons who became the 12 tribes of Israel. So Israel is a people, a race of people who are on this earth in 2023. Who our oppressor, just like he did with the lost cause, just like he did with his other doctrines, just like he did with trying to hide critical race theory from all the schools and the libraries and certain books from the libraries, they covered that up. They covered that up, man. They cover up the truth of who we are and what we're supposed to be doing, man. They cover that up so Christians don't have a clue. Because we follow our oppressor's doctrine. We follow our oppressor's doctrine. And you Christian Israelites, you ain't got a clue because you ain't up in here, man. You ain't up in here. Well, my wife do exactly what I tell her. She make my breakfast. She very submissive. I done taught her the truth. And now she know the truth and she submit and she do everything I tell her. Yeah, nigga, but you home all the time. Why she doing all this? You ain't, doing nothing to raise up the tribes of Israel. You ain't helping the prophets of God, who once again are in the ISUPK. You sure not assisting us in any way. You ain't trying to teach and raise up nobody. You're not even authorized to do it unless you're under Commanding General Yohana. You're not even authorized, man. That's why Christ told the disciples, man, who came to him saying, those guys, they prophesying in your name, meaning they using your name. They out teaching and they using your name. And Christ said, leave them alone, man. You know what I'm saying? As long as they ain't stopping us, then they for us. Then they for us. I mean, as long as they don't stopping us, they good. Let them do their thing. It was prophesied to be heresies. It was prophesied for people to have do other things and other groups to be out there. All of them go away after a while. All of them go away after a while. We even hear that a lot of you fake Israelites, you Christian Israelites, you hiding a lot of our old tapes, man. Heard you hiding a lot of our old tapes because from what another Christian Israelite told us, these other groups, these other Israelites, they don't want the ISUPK to get no big status. They don't want to prop them up, so they hiding all the old teachings, man, of the ISUPK. They hiding them, man, but they all coming out. A lot of them bringing them to us. You know what I mean? The ones that know they doing wrong. And I gotta say this, man. You Israelites just hiding old ISUPK tapes because you don't want the people to see how we the ones who had it since back in the day, since 1969. You hiding all that knowledge, you hiding the doctrine, you hiding it because you don't want the ISUPK to get no props. You are no different from the Jewish man. The white Jewish man who want to silence everybody and have nobody talk about who the real Jews are. I'm gonna start calling you Christian Israelites Jewish because that's what you are. You want to cover up and silence the truth. You want to cover up and silence what's real, man. You got some goddamn nerve. You understand? You scared to let our tapes out. So brothers been coming to y'all asking for ISUPK tapes because they know you got them and you acting like you ain't got them or got access to them because you're hiding them. Because you're hiding them. Because you run the Israelite school of Nubian princesses or whatnot. And so you don't want that, you want that to grow and you don't want the ISUPK to grow. The Lord is raising up the ISUPK and he have been raising us up, man. This ain't nothing done by man. This ain't nothing done by man. You Christian Israelites came against us years and years ago. The Lord smashed you. We ain't do nothing to you. All we do was kept teaching the truth. And we spoke the truth about you. And the Lord crushed you. So y'all gonna find out, you Christian Israelites hiding our videos, hiding our teachings and our classes from back in the day. Your arms too short to box against the Most High, man. You fighting against him. You fighting against him. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And that's true, man. That's true. That's why old Miss Millie of the Confederate, of the United Daughters of the Confederate, she taught children. She was a teacher. And all those women like her probably had teaching positions. And they knew it was important to teach the children this doctrine so that this doctrine does not die. Because they understood if you teach children, when they grow over, whatever you taught them going to be in their mind, no matter what. And I know a lot of you say, some of my kids don't listen. I try to teach them the truth. I try to teach them about the Lord, and they hard-headed, and they don't want to listen, and they don't want to do it. Just keep teaching them. Keep doing your job. Keep doing your job. Listen, Christian children don't like being in church. They can't stand it. But them grandmamas and them mamas and them aunties, they make them go to church. They force them to go to church. You understand? Week after week after week, and make them go there, and they learn all the Christian quotes and doctrines and sayings and all that, and they hate it their whole child life. And when they get teenagers and whatnot, I ain't going to church. I'm sick of that church. I couldn't stand that church. And listen, even the ones that get beat, some of them get beat, man, by these foster mamas with the Bible who force them to go to church. Of course, they're getting molested all in the church. But even molested children, they get molested in the Christian church. When they grow up, believe it or not, they are still Christian. They are still Christian. That is something, man. A study need to be done on that. They get molested in church, hate the church, but grow up and claim Christianity. And all them kids that hated Christianity, they grow up and become Christians. They love Christians when they grow up. Whether they go to church faithfully, which a lot of them do, some of them don't, but they claim Christianity and Jesus Christ. You understand? It's the same thing with the truth. Just teach your kids the truth. You keep teaching them the truth. Keep teaching them the truth. When they're older, they're going to remember the truth, man. They're going to remember the truth. You understand? I got a son. Confession good for the soul. I got a son. Used to teach the truth, man, and bring the classes. And of course, he was caught up in my old neighborhood, up under my mother more than me. You understand? The circumstances. He was under my mother more than me and went the hell off, right? Went the hell off, got arrested. You understand? Was back in and out, in and out. And I warned him before all that. I warned him. I said, son, I know you don't like my discipline, my rules, but in life, somebody's going to give you orders. Somebody's going to tell you what to do. It's better that I do it because I love you and I care for you and I want you to be safe. You understand? Now you can go out here one day when you're old enough and do what you want and this and that, but you're going to end up taking orders from people who don't love you. And that's what prison is about. You getting told when to eat, you getting told when to go to bed, when lights out, and they don't love you. You understand? They don't love you. So I saw him years later, and I said, what's going on, son? Shalom. He said, shalom. I said, how you been, man? I said, he talking to my family, and I just happened to be there this day. And I said, so let me ask you, man, you eating pork? You eating shrimp? I was just curious, like what kind of life he keeping that? He said, no, I don't eat none of that. I said, how come? I wanted to hear the reason. I thought maybe because he didn't became Muslim or some other weird thing. I was just curious. I said, how come you don't eat pork or shrimp or crab? He said, because of you. I said, all right. He don't know I was smiling on the inside. I ain't show him the smile, but I told him, well, good job. Good job. You know what I'm saying? I left it at that. Because though he hated the discipline, though he hated the rules, you understand, you just keep doing what prophets do. And you sisters, you keep doing what you do, teaching them kids. And when they grow up, it's going to be inside of them. It's going to be inside of them. So what I want to do next, right? And that's the only way to combat what's on the TV, what's on this goddamn YouTube that they all watching, man. What's on these cartoons and different things, man. Because they're going to learn that, definitely. They're going to learn about Christmas and holidays and birthdays. They're going to learn what all of that is because of TV. Because of TV and apps and YouTube and video games. They're going to learn all that. Ain't no way you can stop it in America. So the way to fight against it is the truth. You have to teach them the truth. You can't just let them learn from the TV and not teach about any damn thing. You see something on TV that's off, teach on it. You see something, you see that? This is why that's there. And this is the truth about that. And this is what's going on. My sons come back and my son tell me he doing some report. He got to do some writing on black poets or whatever, and this and that, and certain history that's going on. I tell him, do what that teacher say, and whatever he teaching, that's what you put on that test. But I want you to know this, and I'll give him the truth about them different histories. You know what I'm saying? And I let him know about it. So this next, I want to do this video here, right? Let me get this video before I do anything else. All right, yes. And everything I said about old Millie, Miss Millie, what's her damn name? Mildred. Oh, Miss Mildred Rutherford. Everything I said about her, we're going to watch this 6-minute video about it. We're going to check out this video. Give me 2 seconds. We're going to check out this video, breaking down most of what I went into already. You understand? Like, this ain't no secret. It's only a secret to us because we barely learn anything in this place, man. We barely learn anything. Here we go. Listen close.
Listen to how this textbook describes slavery.
The master often had a barbecue or a picnic for his slaves. Then they had a great frolic. Even while working in the cotton fields, they sang songs. The beat of the music and the richness of their voices made work seem light.
Yikes. That's from History of Georgia, a text.
You hear that, right? They really making slavery sound good, right? I'm going to play it again. He said, yikes. The devil
Listen
had
to how
to
this
say yikes.
textbook
The oppressor had to say yikes. You understand? Like, once again, he probably ain't noticed his whole life, but read this and was like, wow, this is what they don't want their children to find out. And right here, you hearing what happens when they find this out. He like, yikes. That was horrible to say that about slavery. When he knows slavery was horrible, they don't want their children to become a whole race of him. This guy right here, reading this.
Listen to how this textbook describes slavery.
The master often had a barbecue or a picnic for his slaves. Then they had a great frolic. Even while working in the cotton fields, they sang songs. The beat of the music and the richness of their voices made work seem light.
Yeah.
Because we sang, and of course, we know in history, a lot of times they would force us to sing. And sometimes we would sing for our sanity. Working in them hot-ass fields all day, we would sing just to get a rhythm, to do the work and to get through the day with song, you understand? And a lot of times, the slave master would make us sing. Times we didn't want to sing, he would make us sing. You understand? But here, they making it seem like we just sang, and it was like we wasn't even working. We was just happy, singing and working, and just happy slaves, boy. This is what they do to history.
Yikes. That's from History of Georgia, a textbook published in 1954 that was taught across junior high schools in Georgia for decades. That sort of language is part of an intellectual movement called the Lost Cause, a distorted version of American Civil War history.
And remember, I read the Lost Cause, right? That's part of the Lost Cause, to write those lies and put them in books and put them on paper and put them on pamphlet, man. That was the Lost Cause doctrine. It was a teaching that made slavery seem good. It made the South seem like wonderful men, wonderful gentlemen. That's what Donald Trump said. There were also very good people on the other side. That's what Trump said. He's a believer in the Lost Cause. That damn Donald Trump, right? Here we go.
That's been prevalent in the South for a long time. It took shape soon after the defeat of the Confederate States in the war, when Southern historians like Edward Pollard and former Confederate General Jubal Early started preserving the South's perspective through their writings. They framed the Confederate cause as a heroic defense of the Southern way of life against the overwhelming forces in the North. That narrative has a few basic tenets: the glorification of Confederate soldiers who died for a cause they believed in, the belief that slavery was a benevolent institution, and maybe most importantly, that slavery was not the root cause of the war. The Lost Cause is one of the most notoriously effective efforts to rewrite history. and it was done by the losing side. So how did it become so deeply rooted in Southern memory? Blame the United Daughters of the Confederacy.
There you go. There
The
you
UDC
go.
was founded in Nashville in 1894 to preserve Confederate culture for generations to come. The women who made up the group descended from elite antebellum families, and they used their social and political clout to spread the pro-Southern version of the war as real history. You've probably seen their efforts to honor the Confederacy, but maybe you didn't know it was the UDC. They're the ones who covered the Southern landscape with memorials for Confederate leaders and soldiers. They used their fundraising and lobbying skills to pressure local governments into erecting monuments in prominent public spaces like courthouses and state capitals.
Installed here next to the state capitol by the United Daughters of the Confederacy.
The United Daughters of the Confederacy donated this memorial to the city back in the 30s.
They put them along roadsides and in parks. Any place that was remotely relevant to the Confederacy was memorialized. By the early 20th century, the UDC had 100,000 members and chapters spread all over the country, but mostly in former Confederate states. And there's a reason they grew so quickly during that time.
So we're talking about roughly 3 decades after the end of the war, and the Confederate veterans themselves are beginning to die off. So there is this push to find ways to commemorate it, because the big challenge by 1900 was there's a new generation of white Southerners being born, and they never experienced the war years.
That push is visible. Most of the Confederate
Damn right, because a bunch of wicked witches, man. That's who ruling over us.
Monuments that we want to get this thing built before all of that generation has died off, and the reason we want it is to teach future generations about those men.
Dr. Karen Cox wrote
looking just like those witches on the Wizard of Oz, right?
It's fair to say the group established the lost cause as historical fact in the South.
Oh my God, yeah. They were the leaders of the lost cause into the 20th century, and they made it a movement about vindication.
Just to give you an idea of how effective they were, they successfully lobbied for a Confederate memorial in Arlington National Cemetery, which U.S. President Woodrow Wilson proudly unveiled to a cheering crowd. Now that's influence, right?
Monuments are the least of what they did.
What?
I mean, they are the most visible and tangible, but the work with children was far more influential.
It turns out a central UDC objective is shaping how children think about the war and their Southern heritage.
You see
One of
that,
the most
right?
Powerful tools, textbooks. Take a look at this.
They're your police officers of today. They're your judges of today.
By the illustrious Southern
They're your DAs of today, your senators,
an educator, orator,
your
and author of Southern history textbooks. She's also very pro-slavery. The pamphlet announced the formation of a textbook review committee featuring prominent Southerners like 5 former Confederate generals. This group was committed to spreading the truths of Confederate history, so they instructed school boards to reject any textbooks that did not accord full justice to the South. And they urged libraries to deface every book in their collection that didn't measure up by writing the words "unjust to the South" clearly on its cover. This pamphlet was shared widely with school boards throughout the South, and UDC-backed committees closely monitored history books to make sure Northern influence never reached classrooms. So the core language of an approved textbook aligned precisely with that of the lost cause. You know, stuff like,
"The Confederacy lost in the war between the states, but Georgia never forgot to honor her Confederate soldiers."
History of Georgia was on the UDC's approved list. It was also written by E. Merton Coulter, a self-described Southern historian and historian-described white supremacist.
They understand that how you educate, who wins the writing game, who wins the battle over history, ultimately wins the war. That's the big...
You hear that? That's heavy. And white people believe that. Whoever wins the writing game, whoever gets to write history and that become official, they win the game. They win the game. I know y'all heard of whitewashing, right? Whitewashing. That's how Jesus became white. That's why Christ said when he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. You understand? You look at all the whitewash pictures and drawings, they make everybody white. From Shakespeare to King James to God to Jesus Christ. The Sistine Chapel over in Rome, they got a white God holding his finger out to a white Jesus. When we all know, just from Bible history, that Adam was black and that God is black. The first white person on the earth was Cain when he was punished with that mark. And then Esau was born into the earth with that same mark. You understand? But whoever controls history and writing of history, and we always said that when I first came into truth, the generals used to say, Commander General Yohana and the other generals used to say back then, This is the 90, 96, 97. You understand? 94, 95. They used to say, man, if you let white people tell it, in 30 years, Muhammad Ali will be a white man. And that's true. When we open up books in the future, our great-great-grandchildren, if the Lord let America go that long, hopefully not. Hopefully not. But if we have great-great-great-great-grandchildren, they'll probably open a book one day and see a white Mike Tyson. Knockout artist Mike Tyson and have a picture of goddamn Rocky Balboa on there. You understand? Muhammad Ali, a white Muhammad Ali, a white Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You know what I'm saying? A white, anybody, football player. Hell, the football player. What's the Eagles quarterback? The Jalen Hurts will be white in some magazine because they love to whitewash everything to make themselves great. When they speaketh a lie, they speaketh of their own.
Fight for the UDC.
But their work with children went further than the classrooms. The UDC formed an auxiliary group called the Children of the Confederacy, which was designed to get kids born in former Confederate states to actively participate in their version of history. Group leaders had kids recite call and response truths from something called the Confederate Catechism. Children up to the age of 18 would compete and be rewarded for memorizing long passages of lost cause rhetoric.
So it would be like an after school thing, like that was your club. You would go after school to the meeting of the Children of the Confederacy, and your leader might teach you songs of the South like Dixie.
That's
or
right,
other
Shaw.
songs that were
I see you,
considered
Deuteronomy
Southern
6 and 6 to 9.
patriotic songs.
Come.
They would have them
We got to
write
teach them
essays,
children, man.
go
That's why the
visit
Lord
the
put it in the
veterans,
law to
and
teach
learn
our
this
children.
catechism.
Children were also the centerpiece
keep
of their
us
community's
strong.
monument.
Wisdom and knowledge shall
like
be the
this living
stability of
flag
thy
at the
time.
dedication of the Stonewall Jackson Monument in Richmond. Yes, those are school children. The UDC's efforts shaped the identities of children who grew up with
That's
the
why
lost
these
cause. They made history
oppressors are
personal,
teaching their
and
children.
that
They
made their story
understand that
last longer.
fact.
Generations of children
understand
learning
that
that
logic.
narrative in a variety of ways grow up to be, segregationist in the 50s and 60s, because that's been drilled into them since they
see
were
that?
children.
After
They
World
grew
War
up to
I,
be
the
segregationists in the 50s, man, and in the 60s. You understand? And of course, their children learn the same thing. Their children learn the same thing, and that's who we dealing with now. Their children and their children's children. We dealing with them right now on your police force, all up in your courtroom, the police in the courthouses, man, protecting every every Caucasian murderer that comes in there of black people, protecting them, giving them burgers, Dale and Ruth, you understand? Treating them with kitten gloves, you understand? Treating that cop that killed George Floyd, you know what I'm saying? When he went into the prison cell, they took the black officers off of their post that was to guard him, and they put good old boys on. You know what I'm saying? To treat them nice and sweet and to have good words for him, probably sneaking them in TVs and phones and everything. He probably in there living good. That Darren, I forget his damn name. You understand?
the UDC started losing steam, but the damage was done. The monuments were in place, and the textbooks they wrote remained in Southern classrooms until the late 70s. And the women's group did it all without the right to vote or participate in politics.
You can still get glimmers of this lost cause memory of the war from people who will always choose to see it through the personal. And I think the UDC, to a great extent, was their goal.
So the next time someone says the Confederate monuments are about remembering our history, just know that that's exactly what the United Daughters of the Confederacy wants you to think.
Damn right. Damn right. Oh, man. I should let y'all hear the end of that. I got to play that again. Y'all hear that last song that went off on? I took it off too soon. Let me see. It passed already. So you're right. Yeah. The judges locking up our children for profit. All that's these people, man. These people that got it bad, got it out for us, man. Listen, the ones that own the prisons, the private prisons, are owned by the children of these people, man. You understand? This whole kingdom is ran by Confederate Nazi people, man. Children. This whole country, you understand? So I'm going to end that part there, you know what I'm saying? We got to teach our kids, and we got to keep this work going, man. It ain't over yet. It ain't over till we walking on streets of gold, brothers. It ain't open till we on the streets of gold, sisters. This ain't the time to be wavering in your faith and saying, oh, well, the Lord ain't come yet. Maybe I got some time. And you go start smoking like a damn fool. You leave the school or want time off and all that. Then you come crawling back. Now you want to be reinstated now. Now we got to have a council because you sorry and you just had to get your head right and you apologize and you want to come back. Well, that's the best thing for you. Because if I was an asshole and I left the truth, I'd come begging back too. You must do that. So I ain't faulting you for doing that. But damn, why go through that? Why go through it, man? You here already. You here already, man. Hold on to your seats, man. It ain't a lot. We ain't got 144,000 yet. We ain't got 144,000 or the skies would get dark. You're going to give your seat and chance the Lord giving your seat to somebody else? Man, I want my seat. I want power and rulership. I want authority. I want it all. I want to say, come to the one, come to my king. My king or whoever else he put over me. That's it. I want to rule and I want to say a word and put families to death who disobey this nation and our culture. I want to say a word and have our oppressors and the heathens' heads cut off, man. I want to say a word and make them work and build mansions for my brothers and sisters, man. For my children to live good and wonderful and royal and rich. I want their children to live wonderful and royal and rich. You understand? I want it all. I want it all. And that's why I do this. I don't do this out of the charity of my heart. I don't do this because I'm just a lovey-dovey guy. I do this because I want the reward that the Lord said we get. You understand? The Lord told Peter and them disciples, you're going to sit on 12 thrones and as 12 kings in my kingdom, man. You roll with me. I want it. I want it. That's what I want. You understand? That's why I do what I do. That's why we all got to do what we do, man, and keep this thing going. And no, I ain't shorting none of you sisters because without you, we couldn't do what we do. I'm just straight up with you. I'm just straight up with you. You understand? Without that beautiful woman on our arm, cooking and feeding us and taking care of us, whatever, however, financially or whatever, you know what I mean? Just filling a priest's belly, just, getting him some boots, a war scarf, whatever. Whatever you do to help that soldier, man, it is appreciated. You are our backbone. And the Lord raised you up and gave you to us, man, so that we can get through this hell a little bit easier in the ISUPK, man. So with that, I'm going to play this good video, man. Everybody should see it. Everybody need to see this video. And just in case you did not see it, it's about 28 minutes long, 29, 30 minutes long. So it's going to be the rest of the show. So for the rest of the show, I'm going to play this video. It's a real good one. Commander General Yohana did an excellent job, as always, the hardest working man in Israel. Did an excellent job when he was down in North Carolina on the iHeart Radio show. Here we go.
Yeah. On 44 shit, you know what I mean? Busy man. Look, when that shit drop, you step all the way on their neck, step on their neck and they head with that shit.
Fine is, I ain't show no mercy, we gon' show them boy what time it is. I pop out like I'm Samuel, I got time to kill. Haters thought I died, I survived. They don't know how I did it, got it out the mud, straight to glory. They don't know how I did it, nice but he don't show them skills, how I show them skills. He ride but he don't work the wheel, how I work the wheel. They mad, I'm too solid, circle tight, yeah, vacuum seal. No, they want my life, I ain't worried, I got rank for real. I got real soldiers, kill for me, nigga, watch yourself. They said you been in beast mode lately, you is not yourself. When you dropping that fire, precious marriage, they inquiring. They can't stop what's coming, but I see them conspiring. Cross the line, them firing. This bitch here, finna break the spin. No kindness, I don't trust you, circle small. You can keep your features. Me and my niggas don't keep no secrets. And it feel like Jeepers Creepers. Say they want some smoke, though. So I brought these chimney sweets. Coming like we coming, you can't even.
Hello and welcome to the Ross Cloud Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Ross Sr., and this platform was created to motivate and to inspire in hopes that you will become a better you. Well, let me make sure you give a shout out to everybody that's listening all over the world. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Ross Cloud Podcast. Listen, we have a very, very special guest with us here on today. I'm elated. I'm excited. I'm humbled. And, man, If y'all can hear it in my voice, I'm real excited about this one, okay? We have the one and only Mr. Commander General. How are you, brother?
Good to be here, man. Thanks so much, Ross.
Yes,
I'm
man.
doing great.
Yes, man. Thank you so much for coming in and gracing us with your presence here on the show, man. We really do appreciate this, and
Appreciate you inviting me.
absolutely, man. Thank God for brother Iraq. Yes, sir. He did the conversations, the phone calls, and he did a nice, gracious press on me. Which was really why I was willing to do it. Because of that, his demeanor didn't change. And we need to see more of us like that. We don't let our emotions just control us, So thank you for your leadership and everything that you present, because you represent it well, brother.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate
that, right, too. Thank you, brother.
Right on. So listen, we're going to go ahead and get into the conversation. And I usually like to take the folks on a journey, if you would, and we don't have to talk much. You don't have to divulge of anything that you don't want to talk about, Commander. And so I want to get into the fact of, where did your awakening, or where did you find God? What was that journey like to get you to where you are now?
It's a great story.
Right on.
I grew up in what was the Castle Hill projects in the Bronx. And if you know anything about it, they nicknamed it Castle Hill, never ran, never will. It was I grew up during the 60s and 70s. It was extremely violent, extremely dangerous and poverty-stricken area of the Bronx. And in that, I saw so many brothers and sisters lose their lives for nearly nothing. The drugs and all of the little things that entrap us and destroy us. And one day, a friend of mine invited me down to a small building in Harlem at 1 West 125th Street. And he said, man, I'm telling you, these guys here can answer any question you ever want. And me, my young, arrogant self at the time said, oh, really? I got to go see this.
Yes, sir.
I went down to that little school with the little wooden chairs, and there was a guy sitting up on a podium. And I was about to introduce myself, and he said, stop. He said, before you say anything, I'm going to tell you something. He said, I want you to think of the hardest question you ever had about God and the Bible. And I want you to lay it on me tonight. And he said, and I guarantee you, I'm going to answer every question you ever had. And he double challenged me, and it was on. And I sat in that little chair in that little room, and I questioned him about every single thought I ever had about God and the Bible. And I want you to lay it on me tonight. And he said, and I guarantee you, I'm going to answer every question you ever had. And he double challenged me, and it was on. And I sat in that little chair in that little room, and I questioned him about every single thought I ever had about God. And he answered every last one of them. And I went home that night, and I realized I found the truth. I found the truth in a little place. And I said, from then on, I'm going to dedicate my life to it, because I knew what was happening in the projects was only leading to death. But so when I found the truth, I knew this could be the way to lead to life. So it switched me. I finally found a way to not see everybody go down into the drain. And it became my life's work from that day on. I kept coming back to Harlem on that 6 train day and night. And I've gone on all over the world since then.
Sure thing.
And we've built an amazing, amazing organization because of it. The grace and mercy of our Father in heaven.
That's right. Who were some of the mentors that helped you with that journey? I heard you speak a little bit, but who mentored you to this point? Someone that you looked up to as a leader, someone who influenced your life to continue this?
Sure. Yeah. If you don't mind, could I just give you a little history of the school itself?
Absolutely, I want you to.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
In the turn of the century, in the 1900s, short time after emancipation of slavery, white Jewish synagogues realized that there was an opportunity to create black synagogues. And so they went down to Harlem and created and built these black synagogues. And they started to teach black people the Jewish tradition, the Jewish way.
Yeah.
And about that time, a man named Bivens came up from Florida, having learned from the Seminole Indians that we were Israelites. We were descendants of the original Jews.
Yeah.
So he studied and knew this, and then came up to Harlem and saw these black synagogues. He then started to work with these synagogues to try to, get involved with them, but he found a conflict. The conflict he found was that they were following white Jewish traditions, and he was saying, but according to the scriptures, the Jews are black.
Yeah.
So why are we following their way when we and acting like we are converts to Judaism, when in fact blacks that came over here in slavery are the descendants of Jews? And this, of course, led to discussions, and eventually he opened up his own school.
Yeah.
He was murdered for teaching what he's teaching, which is why we're so persistent on these street corners.
Understood.
Because he, being, a sincere, noble brother, got murdered by Muslims for teaching that we were not Arabs, but that in fact we were the descendants of the Hebrew slaves that were in Egypt and here again.
Yeah.
So he went on with that teaching that led up to around 1963, 64.
Yeah.
After that, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge was established in 1969 by three amazing brothers who were students of Bivens, one by the name of Masha, another by the name of Ariyah, and another by the name of Yaikwa. We consider them three serious brothers who carried this truth, and all adopted Hebrew names and surnames as Israel.
Yeah.
They then mentored me, and for 20 some odd years, I was one of their students who learned all the ways of the Israelite School of UPK, spread the gospel, taught, followed them anywhere they went. And then circa 2000, I became head, I think 2001, I became the head of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge.
Gotcha.
And I've been the head ever since.
Gotcha.
And have carried it on. So those were my main mentors. There were others as well.
Sure.
But those were the main three that carried this gospel up until now.
I love it, man. I love you. Thank you for that that history moment too. Thank you for that, man. Because again, I knew nothing about this.
Yeah.
I would see it, but I don't think I ever had questions. And I didn't even think of any questions at the time when I first used to be approached by the brothers or them ministering on the streets. I didn't really, I guess, at some point in your life, you do say, hey, I've heard somebody say this before. And maybe you just was like, oh,
yeah.
You just go about your day.
Sure.
And it's easy to do. And so a couple of questions that I want to ask you is, there are three things that I would like for you to talk about, and that's the 12 tribes of Israel.
Okay.
The shofar.
Okay.
And the menorah.
Okay.
Could you tell us, we can start with the 12 tribes of Israel, because I like for this to be a teaching moment too.
I understand.
Yeah. So if you could talk to us about the 12 tribes of Israel, the shofar, and the menorah, however you want to build on that.
Yeah.
Have your way, brother.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Well, the first thing is the Israelite School of UPK. We are strictly conservative about the Bible. We take the Bible seriously. We take everything literal unless clarified that it's metaphorical.
Yes, sir.
So we follow every law, statute, and commandment.
Yeah.
Now, during the time of Christ, he commissioned his disciples to bring back together the 12 tribes of Israel, which meant for you to do that, you had to go into the history. You had to figure out who they are, where they are, and where they were at.
Yes,
and
sir.
as you go into the history, at one point in our history, our kingdom split into two. Our kingdom broke apart into two. And then one half of that kingdom was eventually destroyed by the Assyrian Empire. When you go back into the history, King James Bible 1611, in the Apocrypha, it gives a clear description of where those Israelites went after they were brought into captivity in the Assyrian Empire. They got on boats and ships and traveled all the way over to the Americas. They are what we know today as the indigenous people of this land. When you go back into other records, like the accounts of Montezinus, and even some of the accounts of Christopher Columbus, they arrived, when they arrived, those explorers arrived much later on. They found that the people that were living in these islands and in Central and South America were speaking Hebrew. And they would even greet them in Hebrew. And they would explain to them where they were at. They got clear maps of that. Roman Catholic Church, Spain has plenty of them. And they mapped out where these tribes were. So one half of the nation was over here in the Americas living as indigenous people. A lot of proof is involved. If you ever look at a traditional North American Indian garment, one, they're filled with fringes, something that was unique to the Israelite culture. When you go back and read Leviticus, we wore fringes. Borders of blue, which was one of our laws, is a common theme on North American Indian garments. The shield of David, or what they call the star, but it's a shield of David, commonly known on North American Indian tradition. And then coupled with the language and coupled with the explorers, we find that these are half of the kingdom of Israel. Now the other half in 70 AD, Titus, anybody that looks up a little history can look this up. In 70 AD, Titus, who at the time was a general, he became an emperor later, but at the time he was a general. And he marched on Jerusalem in 70 AD, destroyed it. That was the other half of our kingdom. Those people that were in that land were enslaved and pushed into Africa. Later on, some 1,500 years later on, when the transatlantic slave trade came together, both with the Arabs, Europe, and the Americas, that part of Christ's kingdom, or the children of Israel, were then carried away captive into the Americas. Those are who we know today as your so-called Negroes, West Indians, and Haitians. And by going through the records, we decipher which tribe is which. Okay, the head of that kingdom, that other half of the kingdom, was the tribe of Judah. The main bulk of the slaves that were brought over in the transatlantic slave trade were brought to the Americas. So blacks in America are direct biblical, ethnical descendants of the tribe of Judah. And so on with the West Indians in the Caribbean, the Haitians, and so forth. So that's the two halves of the entire kingdom. And that's where we get the 12 tribes from. And the sad part is this: these records are very common, but never taught in our religious institutions. Nobody wants to reveal who the 12 tribes are. And most of all, white Jews. They do not want that discussed because, of course, it could invalidate their.
I see where you're going.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
There's a book out by Arthur Koestler called The 13th Tribe. And it's almost a play on words because he titled it to say, for whites to be Jews ethnically, there would have had to have been a 13th tribe, knowing that there were only 12. So in other words, he's basically saying, without saying, that there's no way that they are ethnically Jews. And when you check their history out, of course, real quick, in 600 AD, the Khazarian Empire, which sat up in Europe between the Byzantine Empire and the Ottoman Empire, who were both fighting on both sides for control of Eastern Europe. You had the Khazar Empire in between, 600 AD, much around the time Muhammad was pushing north into Turkey and those areas. And so at that time, they had to keep their people together. And so what they did was they adopted the Jewish culture as a way to fight against the Byzantine Christianity and the Muslim Islamic way of life. They set themselves up as Jews, built an empire, came down out of Europe, and that's where we got white Jewry today, or Jewish people today. And so that's where those 12 tribes come from. And now we finally, after so many years, through the grace of Christ, have the truth on who they are.
That's good stuff, man. Before we go back to the shofar and the menorah, when I was thinking, as you were talking, man, it was like I could actually visualize the slave trade and how all of that went down. When you look at it on the map, it's self-explanatory. I mean, really, man, when you look at brother, when I was looking at it, I was like, okay, you got Puerto Rico, you got the islands, you got South America. When you come on around, and then you start connecting the dots. you really start connecting the dots
and seeing who is who.
Yeah.
And right now in the Library of Congress, they have clear maps
man.
showing that the slaves they were taking were coming from different parts of Africa who were renamed after the 12 tribes.
Right on.
So why would Jews be naming cities in Africa?
Yeah.
It was because those Jews had come down into Africa hundreds of years before and came and were carried over here to the slave trade. And there are no Caucasians in the Middle East anyway. So if you just start with common sense, and something is not mixing here.
Me and my brother was having this conversation one day. We was riding, just chilling, and he was bringing up this subject that we're talking about now. We was just building, just talking, having good conversation. And one of the things he said to me was, he was like, I wouldn't be surprised if our own people sold us into slavery. Africans.
Well,
and I don't know. And when I say that, I just wonder if, that was a part of it too.
No, it wasn't.
What I'm saying is the entrapment. When I say that, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know, brother, but
here's the thing.
We're here to talk about it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
sure.
Because I've always wondered that. Were we set up? Was it a setup? It's a lot of questions, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Sure.
Because when you sit down and you have these conversations, if you don't know, you don't know.
Sure.
And you just having a real dialogue with a brother saying, well, I wonder if somebody, were we enslaved? And why we are the Jews.
Right.
The chosen one.
Right.
This is, I hope I'm conveying this properly, because I know you're trying to.
Yeah.
I hope I'm conveying it to
absolutely.
you right.
Yeah. Oh, this is a very common question.
Yeah, because I've always wondered that. You know what I'm saying? Especially when we look at how slavery was here in America. We think about how that whole thing is, it's the worst thing ever, man. So when I think about it, and the institutions that were built off of that,
the whole empire,
it was about the money.
Sure was. A well-organized industry.
Well-organized. So that's why I asked that, not to be critical or bring judgment, but a real question to say, did some of our own people enslave, sell us for slavery for goods?
Right.
I don't know if I'm saying that right.
No, you are. You totally conveying it clear. Like I said, it's a very common question, and listen, and it's a sincere question.
Yeah.
And I've been getting that question for 40 years.
Yeah.
And the truth of the
matter, when you think about the port of Ghana, I don't mean to cut you off, but when I think about that, and then somebody had to entrap somebody.
Oh, it was definitely.
I mean, it wasn't just. It was a conglomerate of people when you think about it that made that happen.
Sure.
So. And go ahead, brother. I'll be quiet.
No sweat. No sweat. That's a beautiful point.
Yeah.
And you know what? In history, a lot of the answers to history are known in common everyday life. And I'm gonna give you an example.
Yeah.
Right now, and I'll start here and I'll walk us all the way back.
Yeah, please.
Right now in America, we have a so-called immigration problem. On our southern border. We've got all these people which is not an immigration problem, it's an immigration blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
We just don't see it because of the cruelty of this society.
Sure.
But all societies in all points in history have always utilized racism as a tool for power. What's going on the southern border is really an act of white supremacy. Okay, we saw that when the Ukrainians came in through the Mexican border. They created a separate line and ran them right on in, and it wasn't a problem.
Right.
But the Mexicans who fighting for years and years and years are still kept out.
Yeah.
Racism has always been used as a tool to keep one group away from another, keep one group oppressed from another.
Yeah.
People eat well when there are people in poverty to exploit and abuse. So now let's fall back to Africa and countries like Ghana and so forth.
Yeah.
When you go back to those countries, even today, many of those countries have 10, 12, 14, 15 different ethnic groups in the country. And they all have different languages, all have different cultures, and they will make it look to us in America like Africa is unified. When if you go to Africa like I did, you will see that they are completely ununified. That they are fighting damn near neighborhood to neighborhood.
Right.
And so when you go into the history of these countries, Ghana and so forth, right now racism against American blacks in Ghana is reaching an all-time high. They want our money. They want Hollywood. They want, you know, if you go over there and you from Hollywood, they're gonna tell you you're a descendant of King Kayawaka or somebody. You understand? But if you come over there, you understand, and you ain't spending no money like Meek Mills, you're gonna get robbed, and they're gonna take your wallet, and you might have daggone building.
Great point.
You understand? So we go back now to history. Let's wind it all the way back. Here we know for a fact through Roman records that Titus marched on Jerusalem. We know for a fact that the Jews entered into Egypt, escaping that slaughter, and then eventually traveled further and further south as they were humiliated by the countries who were over them. As they moved all the way down to the west and southern parts of Africa, they were still experiencing racism just like you would in any country that you come to. Just because we the same color, skin color, doesn't mean you're going to be readily accepted. Many of the Rastafarians found that out when they tried to go back and live in Ethiopia. They, you know, the whole movement moved a ton of people back, and they almost wiped them out. And when they wiped them out, they sent them right back to the Caribbean broke after they had done it. So nations have always done this. So this was no different with us. Here we traveled into Africa. We're strangers, different culture, different language. They didn't just intermingle with us. Oh, we black, we all black, intermingle. What they did was they plotted on us. And then when explorers came over from Europe and the Americas, here was an opportunity, a great opportunity to not only cleanse their country, but to make a ton of money as well. So what we experienced was Africans running into our villages, the Hebrews' villages, capturing Hebrews and bringing them out to the border into these trade. One reason these slave markets were on the coast was because the white explorers didn't come into the interiors of the country. It was too dangerous. So they relied on the host country to go and bring them the slave. So what almost never gets said is that they weren't selling their own people, and they couldn't sell their own people. They needed their own people to strengthen their own country, because they got two other countries over here strengthening themselves. So they wasn't going to sell their mighty men over to the Americas. So who was available? Here we go. We did it here in America. For years, Mexicans had temporary passes to come over the border, work for absolutely peanuts, and then go back. It was a way to keep them controlled and still make money off them. And it's done all over the world. You can check the history on every single country. The minute a country has the opportunity to put another country under them or another group of people under them, and us being a destroyed people, they sold us out of their country. They didn't sell their own people. They weren't that. They weren't. First of all, they weren't savages and they weren't naive, and they had an opportunity here. You know what I mean? So here it goes. And so they sold us on those ships. We came over here speaking Hebrew. We came over here wearing Hebrew garments. All of this is in the Library of Congress that rarely gets brought out and shown. That we were not Africans, but that the Africans were selling us. And they made money. The Arabs made money. Certainly the Europeans made money. And to be completely transparent, yes, there were a few blacks, not from Africa, but from Europe, who had prominent power and who got into the financial systems of those European countries and benefited off of the slave trade.
Okay.
It was a few that got in who were favorites and made money, just like today. You got wealthy blacks who, for a price, you know what I'm saying, will do whatever, adds to their coffers. And so that's what it was. It's no real big mystery.
Okay.
They just got rid of the people that were in their country because they had an opportunity.
Yeah. Man, thank you.
No sweat.
Thank you for conveying that and articulating that too, brother. Well.
Shalom, Israel. And when I mean Israel, I'm talking about the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. The Lord's 54th annual Passover is going down again this year, sundown, April 1st at 500 South Salisbury Street in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Downtown Conventional Center. It's got enough room for all of us. The Lord's 54th annual Passover. Last year, Christians showed up from all over the world, rocking ancient garments and glorious apparel in order to serve the Most High in Christ. Now, it's that time again. Commander General Yohana's putting out the decree for all brothers and sisters to show up sundown, April 1st in Raleigh, North Carolina. Join us at the Sheridan in Raleigh, the hotel right downtown. It's at 421 South Salisbury. The Passover is right up the block at the convention center, literally within walking distance. Make sure you pull up. Make sure that you do your due diligence because rooms are going fast and they are limited this weekend. You understand? We have months in advance of preparation. Do not wait till the last minute to get your room. The Lord's 54th annual Passover, Saturday, April 1st in Raleigh, North Carolina. Join us there.
It's about time.